Okay, so this is just going to be a brief introduction to assignment 2 for Advanced CAD to CAM. This is for the Wednesday class, but I'm going to be uploading this to Canvas directly, so you should all be able to access it regardless, although for Dustin's class, there is a set of YouTube videos you can go ahead and follow. So task 2 is about a game controller and a sports helmet. We're going to be modeling them both up. The idea around a game controller and why we would model one up is to get kind of real crazy and advanced with the freeform sculpting tools in Fusion. So as you can see from these images provided, you can get some real wacky shapes. There's complex assemblies going on with freeform bodies over them, and it's about how do we create these sleek, smooth products within Fusion, right? So it looks very complicated. There's some technical elements to it, but thankfully it starts relatively simple and we add detail as we go. So that way everyone should be able to keep up. And again, this will start off similar to the other assignment where we get canvases in 1-to-1 in Fusion, more so as a reference this time, not to just purely copy over. We're focusing on the Sculpt workspace and Create tools, analyzing the surfaces. So we want to make sure all of our surfaces are smooth and the curvatures are correct. Modifying features in the Sculpt workspace. So we'll probably find that multiple times we're going back and forth and pulling some surfaces up and back and around to try and make those transitions very smooth. We're going to then be splitting up the body with a complicated surface to give us a accurate and attractive part line like we have on all these different controllers, where you can see the part line between the top and bottom surfaces. We're going to create a lip and groove, so to simulate the idea that this is an injection molded part. We're going to add in some extra features as well, joysticks, buttons, triggers, touchpads, whatever it may be. Having a brief look at PCB integration, which is the circuit board that, controls everything within the controller. And inserting parts from Mastercast, so screws for the plastic or maybe even little LEDs for where a light would be. We're going to have to experiment and see what comes out. The outcome of that is high quality renderings. Surprise, we want to do really awesome renderings. They're the best way to show you've created not only just a complex assembly, but all the surfaces are really smooth and nice. We're going to use decals on them. So we might go back and add your logo onto it, or, in here we've got little decals on the side of this controller, which is which is a Call of Duty one with extra stickers on it. So we can add that sense of graphic to our design as well. And there's going to be, 2 hero shots. We can do more. We can do more. And we can get into things like almost some assembled views, play around with the transparencies, cutaways, all these kind of things. And here's one that Scott's modeled up. As you can see, it's got some nice unconventional buttons, got the joy pads, and little sub-assemblies within that. How do these buttons work? Where do they sit? How do we bring in logos and decals, ensuring that we've got a smooth surface that transitions? Here we've got like an interesting, I think this is set up as a decal stuck onto it to simulate the idea that there's a bump texture. So, we're going to play around with cool things like that. How can we get the most out of this design without having to spend forever? Obviously we don't want to model up every individual bump. Can we use a decal? So it's about looking at these advanced CAD techniques to speed up our workflows. Task 2 is going to be a sports helmet. So, the main one that comes to mind is just cycling. Similar skills to that which you've used through the sunglasses project. For wheeled or snow sports, and it says in order to complete this, you need a 3D scan your head. We are definitely going to bypass this because we don't have access to 3D scanners at home. So we're going to be using sort of like a generic imported mesh to work over. We're going to be going over this more in week 2. We're going to start with the game controller today, or whatever week this is that you're seeing this, and then week 2 week 2 of this assignment will be focused on the helmet and learning the basics of that. So we're going to start off with the basics of both and then progress into the advanced ones of both. We don't want students doing one thing all the way through, then the other all the way through, because that way you can't transfer your skills between the 2 assignments. So scaling 1-to-1, yeah, that could work. And also importing a mesh to model over. Uses of Sculpt, Patch, and Model Workspace. So this is going to use up pretty much all of Fusion. Do we sculpt the top of the head? Do we use modeling to cut out solid sections? Down here, we've got these crazy huge chamfers all along it. These would probably be created using the solid workspace, the modeling workspace. Creation of a strapped web. So this is going to be really interesting. Or web strap, sorry. That's going to be really interesting to see because we want to try and create something that's natural looking, right? We want it to look natural. We want it to look like a fabric. How can we do that in Fusion? And dynamic features such as air vents, sun visors. We get really good renders when you start to add transparent objects to it. And this one's going to focus a lot on getting some of those really nice decals done and rendering materials. So how do we show texture? There's a few good options down here. And again, here's one Scott's modeled up. And so you can see it's got the real nice texture, that weave sort of pattern along the strap. It looks quite natural. And so you're all going to be not attempting, but you will be doing this. You'll be doing it, obviously not this exact design, but you're going to be making something just as awesome, maybe even cooler than this as you progress. So this assessment's 35% of the semester grade, and it's going to be due in week 9, which gives us a couple good weeks to actually get a hold of this. This is one of the main bigger parts where you really have to go at it with all your skills and try and manage your time properly to ensure you get everything sorted.